The way he make me
Burgess here with Music Marketing TV. Today we're going to be doing some stem mixing, and if you're unfamiliar, stem mixing just means that you can control just the bass or just the drums, and as a result, when you can control just specific parts, it gives you a lot of flexibility when it comes to putting two songs together. You can create these really neat mashups. So we're going to be looking at these two tracks. I've been messing with them for a while. You'll find this to be the case with stem mixing. There's just so many options, and it's kind of interesting to explore mixing different sections and what that can do. So we're going to go ahead and add these to our mix. And actually, I'm going to add this one first and then this one, just so that they're in the order I want. And so in the previous video, we actually mixed these two and had just sort of a small transition window. But we're going to be looking at using stem mixing to sort of create an extended transition that keeps a more interesting version, because it's like between a mashup and a transition. So what we're going to do is let's click on our default transition here. It's got a crossfade and a bass swap on it. We're going to leave those for now. That sounds fine. And there's this drop right here that we sort of end on, where it says how you make me feel, and then we hit this drop.
Way he made me
It's just grooving, right? And over here, we have this really sick, just grooving track. It's totally different. Like super cool, super fun. So what I want to do is mix these two, specifically right around this point. So I'm going to hit Control E just to set a marker so that when I move it, I can kind of see where I was. I know normally it's pretty easy to see, but that just makes it even easier. So Control E is how you set those. And I'm going to click this edge, drag it out, because I kind of want it to start right around here. And I want this line to line up with the drop right here. Now, if we play it right now, probably not going to be that great. This is what it sounds like.
make me
Yeah, there's just too much going on. So the first thing we're going to look at is what elements do we want to keep in one and get rid of the other. So for this, we need the stems. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the Show Stems button right here. And yours will probably analyze. I've already analyzed these tracks and it knows it. So it just, loads up what it already knows. It takes very little time to analyze them. So once we have this, we have these four parts that we can play with. We have the drums up top, the bass in the middle, the melodic stuff, and the vocal stuff. And you'll often frequently find this red to kind of sometimes contain bits and pieces of sometimes the bass, I find, tends to make its way in here. I actually don't see the vocals too frequently find their way into there unless it's like a really weird, like the vocal is not a normal vocal, really manipulated vocal. So let's go ahead and first find a groove, something that'll work. Often just getting rid of one of the bass lines can do wonders. We also have a very prominent vocal in this track, and that can kind of be a thing. We've been listening to this one, right? This is one we've been grooving on. So let's remove the bass for a second, and you can mute them with these buttons here. And let's also remove the vocal. And we will leave everything on in here. It might just work. We may need to do a drum swap. And so I'll actually pull this over, kind of anticipating a bit of a drum swap. And let's just see what that does for us. Let's add the drums back in here. Oh, and you know what? There's another element here that is playing a role. We have a volume swap right at the beginning, and we don't want that now. So let's get rid of that, and let's also get rid of the bass swap. We'll just change the bass line if we want a bass swap. So here's what it sounds like.
Waking
Okay, the rhythm here is very prominent. So in fact, let's lose the drums here. Let's actually keep the vocal as an interest part. And let's just see if there is a lot of clashing. Maybe we'll remove it. Yeah, we'll remove some of this. And we will remove some of this throughout.
make me
Right there, we do the swap. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll get rid of some of this. Some people make these decisions so fast. I don't know how people are so fast. Maybe they just know their tunes better than I do. But we're going to do that. We're going to unmute these, and we are going to bring this back to over here. And that is where we're going to have the transition. So this gives me a little more confidence to potentially have the vocal in during this section, and then maybe we add a verb out right here. Let's just see.
make me
And then the word feel is right around here. Oh man, we could do something really cool here. Okay, we're gonna do a cool thing here. We're gonna right click this, copy vocals to sample lane. I know I did that kind of fast, but you can copy anything to the sample lane. You just right click it, copy to sample lane. We'll put it in the sample lane. And we want this little chunk right here. And we will get rid of that. And over here, I'm hitting Control E to split this thing up. So my idea is this vocal, we're going to have it play. It's going to get boom, and then we're going to hear this like dee-dee, so boom, dee-dee, boom, dee-dee, boom, dee-dee, boom, dee-dee, that kind of a thing. And we can repeat by just grabbing this repeat sign and moving it over. And there's some downsides to this, like splitting the vocal. Now it's like one thing, so we may not do it this way. But let's just see if this works out as a cool thing right away. Okay, and then what we need to do is we will alt-click drag. Okay, so with it copied over there, it sounds like this over here. Oh yeah, and you begin to run across magic. This is different than every other time I've done it. I always find a different thing, a different idea, and it just is a good dang friggin' time. So something I'd like to add maybe to this top track is a reverb transition out. So I'm going to come to the transitions, go to effects, and add a reverb, and I'll move it up to 75%. You can control where this hits by moving this guy. So maybe we move it back to where the bass and the melodic part are. The issue here is it touches our vocal, and we don't want it to touch the vocal. We like the vocal. So in order to get the vocals over so that we can have a reverb effect, I'm going to I think you have to make a selection first. We will make a selection and we will go to copy the vocals. So this is different than just copying to a sample lane when you click and copy to sample lane, because if you do that, it'll shift everything we want to copy to a new sample lane. We have 2 of them. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. It'll put it on down here, and then we can get rid of this overlap here. And we can also make this big so we could see what we're doing. And we can come here, Control E, and delete that. So now we can mute the vocal up here so we can have our reverb transition. And it will sound like this. Let's see what we got.
The way he made me
Okay, so I forgot that I, through the magic of editing, have erased a few of these. So let's put some of these back. Well, we want them back. Let's make sure that's all good to go. Okay, and while we're here, it would be cool if these sort of reverbed off, because they just sound kind of weird when they just stop suddenly. That could be a cool thing too, but I'm going to go over to the effects. And if you move an effect while it is active and you have that lane selected, so if you see here, it needs to say sample 1 here, because we're in the sample 1 lane. If it does not say that, you will not be moving the effects on the thing you think. They'll appear on some or other thing. So I'm going to go come here and move this. So we have 2 controls here. We have the size and the mix. And so we're going to have it start off low, and then we will add a mark and then have it sort of ramp up like this, like so. And then over here, obviously we want this to be back down. Oops, see that? It appeared up here. We want it on here. Oh my goodness. I just want to move the control over here. We'll pick these. And we will move this. So now they appear on here individually. We'll move this to increase. What's really important is the dry or wet mix. The other stuff doesn't really matter that much. Okay, so let's hear how this sounds. And there you go. A dope flipping transition. You're using elements from the other track. It is so freaking cool. It's much more engaging than just your standard fade moves. And what we could do also here is we are still getting that cut because I cut the repeat here. If we wanted it to repeat out for longer, we could do something like this and just have it ramp up sooner. I'm not sure. Kind of liked what it did, but we could try this. Oh, you know what? That might be dope as heck. We might need to do that. I don't know. I might have to go back and have it like that moment where it sucks in and just sort of stops for a second. No, it makes sense if it goes all the way through. Maybe we have it come down. I meant to control this one, and we pull this down. Maybe, perhaps, something like that. Maybe we have them meet up. And then if this repeats the same thing, will this work? Will it work? This is part of the dabbling I'm you're just always screwing around. Make sure you save your work too. We'll call it like, we'll call this stem mixing since that's what we're doing. Okay, I'm thinking actually the move here is to come back down and maybe have this also start to fall as well. And there you go. If you really want to sell it, you could also get a sample, a pre-recorded sample. I don't have any loaded in here. I have a whole bunch on the machine, but maybe like a psh sound or something. I think that could be a little over the top, but that is just some of the stuff you can do. Like if you really take your time, you can make a really unique, cool transition mix. The stem mixing is incredible. It's super intuitive. Something I didn't mention here that I should definitely mention is there is a difference when you reveal stems in a regular track. So you could select a region and click show stems. And this sort of lives outside of a transition. The stuff that lives in the transition, this stuff is supposed to be playing and it's going to be faded out. So at the moment, you can only remove stuff from one direction. The direction that it's going to be disappearing in. So I can't, for example, fade stuff out from this direction. To do something like that, you'd have to do it in the sample lane. And likewise, for the second track, things are coming in. So I can only cut stuff from this side. I cannot cut stuff from this side. And if I wanted to, I'd have to copy it to a sample lane to treat it kind of like its own thing. Sort of like what I did with the vocal so that I could process these other things together on their own without them, being too much in the way. But there's an example. Let's hear it since I've added this like new portion here and we'll call it there. So here's our final result.
The way he made me feel.